Is a little after 9 o'clock. It's Tuesday night. It is time for the Get Off My Lawn podcast. You may have noticed that we don't have everybody on the screen tonight that we are planning on having. You know what? Let's just do this where I'm the only one on the screen right now. There, now you can't even tell who's in the room with me. We are just waiting a little bit for our special guest, our spotlight guest of the night. He is wrapping up his own podcast, and he graciously agreed to take some time tonight to come over and join us when we go live. However, sometimes his stuff kind of runs a little bit into the 9 o'clock Central Time slot. So we're just going to go ahead and just kind of hang out a little bit and talk amongst ourselves until Tony gets here. And then we will kind of go from there and talk to him once he gets here. So, all right, let me angle that just a little bit more like that. All right. I noticed last week I was really staticky when I was watching the playback. Can everybody hear me okay without static out there in YouTube land and Facebook land? Hey, there's the man. All right. I don't know if you got my message, Tony. I just sent you a Facebook message. We went ahead and clicked live because I wasn't sure if you were going to be coming right along or not, and I was going to get started because if I don't go within, I think it is 9 minutes, Facebook kicks out my live stream and it won't show it.
No problem. Sorry.
Yeah, no, man, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. I was just kind of going through my welcoming spiel a little bit here, and looks like we've already got some lively chatters out there on the YouTube side. And it looks like even on the Facebook side as well, we've got quite a few people out there. So that is very cool. Before we introduce our panel guests, let me just look here and see who we've got going on in our chat already out on the YouTube side. As the little scrolling banner at the bottom of the screen says, make sure that you are dropping comments out there in the live chat so we know you're here on the YouTube side, because we cannot see you if you are if you're watching and you're not commenting. And some of you, that's okay, that's what you want, but we can't say hello to you and we can't read your name off at the end of the night unless you're dropping comments and we know you were here. So who do we have out there tonight? We have Jay Brown, Iron Horseman, Republican River Rat is here. Who's that sandhillsshooter guy? Nobody wants to talk to him. Nighthawk Medic's out there in the chat. We've got Tim Foley, the Poor Conservative. Jefferson Martial Arts is new, that somebody that Ghost sent over. So apparently Ghost was talking us up a little bit over on his podcast. I didn't get to listen to it tonight live. So Ghost, thanks for sending people over here. I always appreciate the free advertisements. So Jefferson Martial Arts, welcome. We've also got, who do we have? James Nelson is new. Welcome, James. G23 is out there. Gizzard Gary. Grim90, what's up, Grim? Sandhill Sweetheart is in the chat as well. She just got in the door. She just got back from South Dakota, actually, and she hit the house, walked into this room, and sat down at her computer about 5 minutes ago. So I am happy that my best half and producer is sitting over there making sure I don't screw up too badly. Who else do we have out there? Mike is in the house. Patriot in the Dark, I see you. Defense Dad's out there, and I know there's more. Jackers is out there. Mystic Guns. Simon says train hay out there in the chat. All right, cool. We've got quite a few of you out there. And then who's commented so far on the Facebook side? I've got Dusty. I've got John Petrolino is out there. You may remember him from a recent episode as early as last week. He wrote, hey, I got it right here. Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. So if you missed that episode, go back and catch that. And if you don't have this book, go buy it. It is amazing. Who else do I have on the Facebook side? Jim's out there watching, and I think there's a few other people out there maybe as well. All right. We will say hello to the people on our panel. So first and foremost in here joining me tonight, we've just been chatting it up, waiting to go live. Nighthawk Medic Shoots is in the house. What's up, Nighthawk?
Hey, it's great to be here, Sam, and thanks so much for having me on. And I am excited about this guest tonight.
Me too, man. This is awesome. All right. Next up, we've got Defense Dad holding it down from the other end of Nebraska. Well, not really the other end, but further south than where I am, down in the capital city. What's up, Defense Dad?
Not much. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the show tonight.
Glad you're here along. And you may notice, those of you that watch regularly, you might notice that we do not have Travis P11 with us tonight. He may or may not be joining for a while on these weeknight podcasts, which is every one of mine. Travis may be MIA for a while. He is getting back into the school year, and a lot of you already know this. He switched towns, switched schools, and basically had to leave all of his curriculum with the old school and rebuild it from scratch. So he's been doing a lot more homework than any of the students have lately. And he said that work's just been kicking his butt. He's been going to bed early. So we may or may not see him. He knows he's welcome, but we're just going to hold it down without him. And I'm going to try and fly solo without my unofficial co-host, because he's been here for all but I think 2 of these. So, all right, without further ado, we're going to mention our spotlight guest, the reason that we were hanging around and not going live right away. So a lot of you already know who this gentleman is. If you don't know who Tony Simon is, and if you're not familiar with The Second is for Everyone or diversityshoot.com, then you need to go check those out. Don't do it right now unless you can multitask. I don't want you to miss any of this. But if you can listen in the background and check out that website, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, go see it afterwards. But for the people that maybe aren't quite as familiar with who you are and what you do, Tony, would you just start off just kind of, I'm sure that you kind of get tired of maybe going through all this, but would you tell the world and all of our viewers and listeners who may not be super familiar with what you do, who you are and what you do right now? And then we'll get into some other fun stuff here after that.
All right. My name is Tony Simon. I run the Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot in New Jersey. I'm also a firearms instructor, but mostly a Second Amendment advocate. We also run something called the Minuteman Challenge, which is a entry-level competition thing to bring people in that have never shot before. But mostly 2A, 4E was set up by me, my friend Sean, and like-minded people in New Jersey back in 2015. February 2015, we started the first one, and it was called the African American Diversity Shoot. And the whole point of it was to bring people in to the Second Amendment community who weren't the stereotypical firearms owner, but we also wanted to teach people how to become Second Amendment advocates. Like, what groups are there out there in your state? Where can you join? How can you fight? How do you write a letter? How do you testify in front of your legislators? And that's what we started out doing. But the funny thing was, I called it a diversity shoot, and we started in February. So I said, Black History Month, the African American Day shoot. I thought I was pretty plain when I said everyone was welcome, and people kept asking me, can white people come? Can Hispanic people come? So the next month we changed it to the Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot, and that kind of cleared a lot of things up. But what we do is fight this fight in New Jersey. We do what we can to grow it. We do what we can to bring anyone in, regardless of your sex, gender, your sexual orientation, your gender, your religion, your race. We don't care. And most gun people don't care. But the media has been saying forever that we do, and that the gun community is just full of racist white people that don't want anybody else involved. And that's a lie. Gun people are some of the best people out there. And I think it's up to us to go share it, and we can't depend on groups to do it. We have to do it as individuals, and that's what I did starting in 2015 at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park. I testified in 2012 after Sandy Hook, or 2013 in front of the New Jersey legislator. There were 200 pro-gun people there, and I was the only black guy that was pro-gun that spoke that day.
Oh my goodness.
And now I picked up my NRA rifle, pistol, shotgun, and RSO certs pretty much in 2012, when I got into shooting again after getting out of the Marine Corps over 2 decades earlier, and realized that I sucked at shooting and I needed to get better. So I took some classes, and I got better instantaneously just by going over the fundamentals again. And I wanted to teach people that. And that's when Sandy Hook happened, and New Jersey had 86 different laws that they were going to shove down our throats, and that's what got me into the fight.
Oh, wow.
Everybody, well, excuse me, not everybody, people have that aha moment, but some people don't know where to go. So that's one of the reasons we had the diversity shoot, and that's why I think it's important in places like New Jersey, New York, Maryland, Delaware, those kind of places. Right now, my next diversity shoot comes up this Thursday, 2 days from now, in Pennsylvania, right on the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania at Easton, PA, at the Heritage Guild. And the reason why? New Jersey's governor shut down ranges in New Jersey and just opened them back up, but they could only be open at 25% capacity. Well, that's not enough for me to host an event and the range to have its staff. So pretty much they've shut down anything like we do. And the Heritage Guild reached out and said, we'll gladly host something in PA. We're wide open. So guess what? We're crossing the border. We're doing cross-border runs, and we're going to try to spread freedom and information there. And of course, since it's right on the border with New Jersey, please, New Jerseyans, come out so we can talk, and you can shoot cool guns without the stupid restrictions that we have in our home state. I even have, I was blessed with SIG contacted me and said they're going to have their rep in the area, and he's going to come by and be there, and he's going to bring some cool SIG stuff like 365s, 320s, and maybe an MPX or a tread. I don't know which one. Can't remember off the top of my head, but that's going to be there too. We're going to grow this thing. We have to fight this thing. This whole thing is grassroots. I mean, it really is. We can't depend on a Second Amendment organization. The NRA has proved over time we can't depend on them. When organizations get big, they have their own agenda. Well, we as people have to have ours. Grow the Second Amendment, become politically active.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let me see if I can adjust this view a little bit. We'll just put everybody up on the screen here together. All right, so there's kind of a lot to unpack just from your intro there, dude. I mean, I should really have been taking some notes here. I really love the fact that we've got somebody out there in the world who wants to, and I know that you're not the only one. I know a lot of people are working toward the same end, but all of you out there, and Tony included, who are working to make sure that everybody who is not what the world thinks is the typical American gun owner, and I put that in air quotes for those of you that can't see me. The typical American gun owner, I mean, it really is Elmer Fudd, right? It's an old white guy wearing flannel in the woods, and he's going to go hunt some wabbits, or some ducks, or whatever is the season. And nothing could be further from the truth. Now, that may still be the majority if you just go through the metrics of who owns guns and such as that. But at the same time, there is no such thing as a typical gun owner. Not anymore. And especially not today, because in the last couple of months, we've gained, 2.5 million new gun owners, roughly, just in the last few months. And I know they're not old white guys. Okay. Not all of them. Some of them, sure. But they're not all a bunch of old white guys that are out there buying guns. There's a whole lot of people that are learning that maybe their neighborhood isn't quite as safe as what they thought it was. Maybe the police aren't always going to be there to take care of them. Maybe the police aren't always going to be there, period, if some people get their way. And if you don't have any police and something goes down and there's an angry mob on your lawn, who are you going to call? It ain't going to be Ghostbusters. So hopefully you're going to call Smith & Wesson or Sig Sauer or whoever you need to handle your business, and just to make sure that nobody's going to come into your home or come into your life and force their will upon you. And as gun owners, especially those of us who are defensive minded and concealed carriers, we don't do that because we want to get into a gunfight. This is not the Old West. Even the Old West wasn't very wild like the movies made it seem, or the dime store novels made it seem. But the reason that we do such a thing is because we refuse to be victims, and we refuse to let other people force their will upon us. Now, having said that, Tony, I know you're one of the few people who are, I guess, have enough backbone to go out and voice this concept everywhere you go. But when it comes to forcing your will upon other people, we're not just talking about a single person all the time either. It can be entire groups of people, right? And so if you look at the original gun legislations and the original gun laws, I mean, these things are couched in racism, are they not?
Very much
And
so.
you're one of the people, like I said, that doesn't have any problem saying so and calling it what it is. And so would you just kind of, for some people who maybe aren't aware, maybe we've got some new gun owners or potential gun owners listening that maybe they've never been exposed to the truth all the time or the whole truth. So would you kind of dig into that a little bit and just kind of explain how that worked and still to this day how that can be detrimental?
All right, I'm going to throw really a book out there for you guys to check out if you want to. Negroes and the Gun. That's one of the ones I've read and studied, and it's really important because you have to know the why behind the things we're dealing with. And the other one is this nonviolent stuff will get you killed. These are two really good books talking about the racist history of gun control in America, and it started really before there was a United States of America. The first gun laws actually were passed in Virginia, in the colony of Virginia, in 1620. I'm sorry, 1620. The first slave showed up in 1619, and the first gun laws were it's illegal to arm blacks. I mean, it was just that simple. It was against the law to arm black people, and you can continue throughout history, and that's exactly what they did. Made it illegal for blacks to have guns, because you can read about some of the slave revolts, like Harper's Ferry. No, there were slave revolts well before Harper's Ferry, and because people wanted to be free. And it continued after this country was founded, and it continued and continued that blacks wanted to be free, and they kept passing gun laws. And then after the Civil War, they came up with Black Code to make it illegal for blacks to own guns, and they continually doing Black Code, Jim Crow laws. And it was directed at us, and then it started being directed at other immigrants, Italians, Irish, and they wanted to make sure they were disarmed, Native Americans, Asians. It's throughout American history that they've done this. This is not new. I don't care what they say. And they've used fear and your own safety as the excuse. Slave revolts, we have to arm them. Native American revolts, we have to disarm them. We're doing it for their safety and your safety too. Prohibition. That's where the 1936 gun law came from, the National Firearms Act. Oh, it's because of the gangsters and the guns they had during Prohibition, and the cops were outgunned. Bullcrap. Someone
Right.
actually did the research, and they said they weren't, I think, either 4 or 7 during the entire time of Prohibition. I can't remember which one, but let's go with the high number. 7 during the entirety of Prohibition uses of a Tommy gun or a fully automatic weapon. That's it. Hollywood has you believing it happened all the time. No, 7 times. Then they had, of course, blacks in the civil rights movement. Oh, we have to ban guns and stop those blacks from having them. I mean, back in the day, they said we could only have military grade weapons. That was one of the things. You could only have guns that were used by the military back in the day. Well, they were the most expensive guns out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've changed it up, the weapons of war, whatever. Let's go on to, again, civil rights movement. They didn't want blacks to have guns. That's where the 1968 Gun Control Act came from. Also, they used the Kennedy assassination, and used the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and they were like, yeah, you can't get guns mailed to your house anymore.
Right.
Well, in the 1890s, one of the advertisements for Sears was, we will mail a gun to anyone's house. Well, that helped out a lot of blacks. That helped out freed blacks. That helped out minorities. That helped out Irish, because you could order your gun and have it delivered to the general store or to your home. Well, they took that away by having FFLs to determine whether or not they would sell you a gun. Well, now they put that power of your Second Amendment right into the hands of the store owner. And if there's stores where black people can't even enter to the front door, you think they're going to allow you to be armed? The answer is no.
Right.
Now we go from that to the 80s? Oh, it's because of just crime is high, and we need to develop this. And that was Ronald Reagan and his thing, outlawing different firearms. And then we go to the 90s. Oh, the gangs in LA and all that violence. So we had to come up with the 94 Gun Control Act. It's always an excuse, and it's always for your own safety that they take away your rights.
That's
Don't
what they
buy
say
into
anyway.
it. Oh, yeah, they use your safety to take your rights away from you. And let's not talk about, well, mostly it's the fault of the failure of the government itself if these problems exist. Prohibition. blacks not having equal rights, the drug war, and mass shootings. All the fault, pretty much, of the governmental policies. And you have to educate people on this because they will not see it on their favorite news station.
That's very true. And when you speak of mass shootings, I mean, you can look back through history, and I know that somebody's already compiled the numbers. And I can't remember the exact year, but I know it was either 1950 or 1955. Somebody went back through, compiled the numbers, and over 98% of public mass shootings were committed in gun-free zones. It just doesn't happen in a place where people can be armed and defend themselves, because that would not be easy pickings. And so the people that are going to do that, they're predators. They pick their victims, even if they are indiscriminate at who their victim is inside that, I guess, arena, for lack of a better word, inside the place where they have decided to create their kill zone. They don't care who walks through that place, but they picked that place because it's an easy place to ambush people who can't defend themselves and can't shoot back. And over 98% of the time in the last 70 years, or almost 70 years, that has been the case. So again, along with everything else that you mentioned, I mean, yeah, mass shootings, believe it or not, for those of you who are listening to this and thinking about this for the first time, again, that is a downfall on the government's part. And it's not that they didn't protect the citizens. They prevented the citizens from being their own protectors, which we see so often. And again, it's not just in public shootings. It's everything else that you were just talking about, Tony. I mean, the government for time and time again has prevented the citizens from becoming their own protectors, including all the people who were discriminated against. And, you know, we didn't want minorities armed. We didn't want black people armed. We didn't want Native Americans armed, even as we were settling the country. One of the things that we see, and I really don't want to get in too deep tonight as far as, which groups have been wronged, because I'm going to leave somebody out, and then I'm going to get a comment that says you forgot about this group, and that's not what we're talking about tonight. The fact of the matter is that everybody's been wronged at some point. You've been wronged. I've been wronged. We've all been wronged. Okay, that's life. We're going to put our big pants on and keep going. Now, there's always been people that the government didn't want to be able to fight back. And they told those groups of people, we've got your best interest at heart, and it's in your best interest to let us take care of you, but we can't take care of you if you can shoot at us. So lay down your guns, and then we will give you everything you need: food, housing. I grew up not that far from a Native American reservation, and if you want to see a group of people completely without pride, and Native American tribes were some of the proudest people that ever walked the face of the earth, but you want to see a prideless people now, go to a Native American reservation and just look around. I mean, honestly, it is not in the best interest of the people to have the government take care of them. It never is. And we could go down that rabbit hole if we wanted to, but we're not going to do that tonight. I just needed to get that off my chest. Before I forget, I do have a question out there from Patriot in the Dark. He wants to know if you have Patreon and what your Patreon name is, Tony.
The Patreon name is the Second is for Everyone podcast, and that's on Patreon.
All right.
We've given away 2 guns. I just sent one out this week. Industry build AR, where people donated all the parts for the rifle, and companies did, which was awesome. Faxon donated the barrel. Hallenbach donated the lower. Individuals, I posted it on my Instagram that I quoted as many people as I can. Also, High Point just donated either a 9mm or a 10mm carbine. You pick. And High Tower Armory actually donated their either bullpup for the High Point or the bullpup for 1022. So that's going to be a given away this week too. And we have knives and stuff we give away because we have 2 different levels. We have above $20 and below $20 level. And try to give cool stuff. Yeah.
To qualify for the giveaway, is there a certain level of patronage, or just any Patreon patron is qualified, or how does that work? You
give $1, you're in it for some cool stuff. And if you give above $20, stuff will show up at your FFL. That's all I'll say.
Wow, that's awesome. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed, man. People have been donating stuff, and I'm giving it right away. I'm giving it back to you.
I tell you what, I need to convince Sandhill's sweetheart to let me become a $20 patron. I will talk to her. We will see, because the money goes to a great cause. It's not like you're sticking this in your pocket. So when people make donations, whether it's Patreon or any place else, even through the website, would you just kind of give a rundown if I become even a $1 a month patron, where do the donations go? Because I know you do a lot of things that cost a lot of money. So can you just kind of explain to people what you're doing with this? Because I know you're not using it to pay your light bill.
Oh, please. I'm sorry, but it's funny because I got somebody who says, well, why do these people always ask for money? Why can't they just do it? I'm like, dude, I started this in 2015 out of my own pocket using overtime, comp time for the days off. And I did it for 2 years, going on 2.5 years. And it took a lot of money. I mean, the reason I had it every other month was because I'd have to raise enough money to replace the ammo, to pay for the food, gas up to the range, which is an hour from my house. And somebody was like, why don't, actually it was Maj Toure from Black Guns Matter. Maj and I are friends, and Maj was like, Tony, you have to get a Patreon. I'm like, what's a Patreon? He was like, well, you ask for money and they send you money if they believe in what you're doing, and a GoFundMe. And I was like, why? Because it's really, look, people have helped me out a lot. I mean, that's the only reason I'm still here, is because of others. And it's humbling, man, that anyone would send me $1 because they believed in what I said. So what does this money go to? Man, it goes to replacing the ammo that we use. It goes to buying the food that we have at events, because I believe one of the best ways to get people to start talking and to break down the walls between them is to break bread with them. So that's what we do. What else? Travel. Because I've been asked to speak. I went to DC during the Second Amendment rally last November. That popped up and I was like, oh crap, I have to pay for a room. Well, I was able to do that. But really, really what helps me the most right now is relieves the stress that you guys donate money, so I don't worry if the Pennsylvania event's going to be sold out. Because this is the first Second Amendment, Second is for Everyone event that we're having during COVID. People might not come out. Before, that would stress me out because I'd have to pay for the ammo. I'd have to pay for the time. I'd have to pay for the food. And at the end of the night, I'm wondering, do I have enough gas money to get home? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that takes that stress off and just lets me concentrate on the event. So it helps me out a lot. Also, buying prizes for you guys. I'm not going to go broke doing it, but I feel that you donate money if you go, yeah, there's only 50, 60 of us. You know what I mean? And there are only a few of us donating $20 and above. And like I have a Palmetto State Armory rifle kit that I'm giving away, carbine kit, plus a lower from Double Star.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called Hi, I'm here for the Boogaloo lower. It's got the little name tag on the side. I didn't know Boogaloo was racist when I bought those. I don't know when I became a racist, but it was right around the time I started fighting for my Second Amendment rights. I started getting called a racist.
That's good to know. So does that mean you're anti-black people? Is that Boogaloo is that racist against black people, or who's that against?
I was called a Nazi at my very first protest, which was for Shaneen Allen. It was here in Jersey. If you guys don't remember who Shaneen Allen is, she's an African-American mom of 2 that got stopped in New Jersey with her brand new carry permit from Pennsylvania. She was going to her son's birthday party. She was going to do that in Atlantic City. She got pulled over by a cop. She told the cop honestly that she has her carry gun on her and her permit. Well, they arrested her and was trying to get her 5 years in jail minimum. Trying to get her to take a deal. We protested in front of Chris Christie, who was the governor at the time, his birthday celebration in East Brunswick, New Jersey. And while I'm walking around with a sign, the guy pulled up the light and said, you people are Nazis. All of you people are not. I was like, hey, you talking to me? Because there's only me and 2 white ladies walking beside each other at the light at that time. And he looked at me and realized I'm much bigger than him because, I mean, if you have not checked my hashtag out, it's hashtag the largest pound for pound firearms instructor in America. And he realized his faux pas, and then he rolled his window up like this, but it was at a light, and the light turned red, so he was stuck there. really uncomfortable for him, and I was laughing my butt off.
Oh crap, he's really big and he's black. I better roll up my window. This is a bad part of town now.
He was like, and I'm laughing because I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do? Pull you out of your car? I could care less. I was just stunned that I was a Nazi. I'm like, man.
You know,
I'm like, dude, they have really liberal recruitment policies in the Nazi party now.
Yeah, I guess they'll let anybody in now, won't they?
Hey, affirmative action's gotten to the Nazis too.
That's gotta be it. That's gotta be it. Out there in the chat, we've got Yehuda Reamer, who also gets accused of being a Nazi, which is even more asinine than you being accused of being a Nazi. And it's just, and he's the same way. I know that it's not like it doesn't sting, but at the same time, if you don't have a thick skin and a sense of humor, then I don't know how you get through life anyway. And so Yehuda and I have shared a few jokes back and forth between each other on private messages and stuff like that. The dude's got a great sense of humor, just like you do. And like I said, I mean, I know that I've had a great life. I grew up in a house that both of my parents were still married to each other the day my mom passed away, and I was raised in a 2-parent household out in the country on a cattle ranch in Nebraska, where I had, the option to run around with a gun, a BB gun, 22, whatever it was when I was little, go hunting, go fishing. Got my butt spanked when I got into trouble. Probably not enough now looking back, but I did get spanked as a kid. I mean, I have not had a whole lot of problems in life. And life is still hard, even for me. The point that I want to make is that to get through life, you got to have a sense of humor, and you've got to have a thick skin. And all of a sudden, when you decide one day, hey, I'm going to get online, turn on my camera and turn on a microphone, and a guy like me, I've got a big mouth, a camera, a microphone, and the internet is what I always say. And apparently people tune in. Either they like what I have to say, or they just want to see what I'm going to say next. It's got to be one or the other. But when you start doing something like this and you start taking a stand and telling people the way you see it, telling it like it is, at least from your perspective, I mean, people will take shots. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Second Amendment rights or any other kind of rights, as far as, racial things or ethnic things or sexual orientation things, pride things, anything like that. Once you take a stand, you're basically saying, hey, here I am, world. This is what I think. Come at me if you want to. And so you've got to be able to deal with that. When it comes to being an advocate for the Second Amendment, first of all, we're all in the same boat. Everybody on this panel is doing stuff on YouTube, doing stuff out there in the world, and none of us are afraid to put our faces out there and say, hey, world, look at me. This is what I stand for. Come at me if you want to. Tony, what has been your experience? First of all, just as like your journey becoming a two-way advocate, how did that journey start? And I know that's exactly what it is. It's a journey because we're still on it, all of us right now. This is not the end. But how did you get into becoming a Second Amendment advocate and then a firearms instructor? Or maybe it wasn't that way. Maybe it was the other way around. But how did that journey start for you?
Well, it was really vice versa. I became a firearms instructor, and by the time I got all the certs, they were trying to ban everything in New Jersey. So I was like, no, this is bull crap. It's a bunch of lies. There is no way Sandy Hook happened, and then the very next day you had written 86 bills because of Sandy Hook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was how many we had to fight down in Jersey. That's why I tell people, in places like New Jersey, we have hardcore Second Amendment advocates. I mean, this is like, if you pull it from the VC during the Vietnam War, it was those hardcore dudes that made it through World War II that formed the cadre, and that's what's happening in Jersey. You have the hardcore dudes that are in the fight, and we recruit, and that's what I'm doing with this. I want to bring more people in, and because I look like I do, because I am who I am, I can break that ice. I can get people to come in, because yes, if you've been told all your life that every gun owner is racist, why would you go to a gun range?
Mm-hmm.
even if you're the most inquisitive dude in your circle, you know how much it takes to break that ice on your own. So you look and you see a guy that looks like me telling you to come on out. Let's do this. Let's have fun. All right, I'll take a chance. And then that one gun person comes. I've had Latinos, Asians. It makes no difference. People come out and have a great time. And then the next thing you know, the next event, they have 3 more friends. Why? Because they have fun. The way I got into it was just through anger and frustration. We were talking about it one day, and it got into that whole Batman thing, like you created me, when the Batman and the Joker are going at each other.
Right.
And it was really, yes, the strong gun laws that they have, or the bull crap that they were trying to pass, created us. If you would have left us alone, I'd be happily teaching NRA first steps to people, but you didn't. And we got fed up with it, and we lashed back out. We decided to become a grassroots thing, and it's through friends that do this, and it's frustrating. And I'm trying to get other people to join. I am not special. I am just the loudmouth. I've had it. I'm fed up with it. Exactly. I'm fed up with it. And it was on. I mean, I was born and raised from the South, man. I'm from Virginia. I grew up on a farm. I grew up farming tobacco. I ain't scared of a gun, and I'm not frightened of anyone else, because it is what it is. I joined the Marine Corps. I determined I turned my life over to God at that time and went, please let me make it back home. And if I don't make it back home, watch over my family and protect them. My life is in your hands, and I'm done. And I haven't changed from that since. And when I did my swearing in, I haven't stopped swearing in since. Every year I work as a election poll representative at the polls. And every time I have to work the election polls, I sign the very same, I swear in again. I swear in again to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. Every time you do, you have to sign the bottom of that paper when you work the election polls. I haven't stopped doing that since I was 17. There's no expiration date on my oath. Right. I'm doing this, and I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm blessed because people like the guys on this show, like Ghost, like Yehuda, they've supported me. They've had me on their shows. They had me on the things they do because they believe in the mission we have. We all have to participate in this in some way. If you're a gun person and you're not participating in advocacy, understand you're slitting your own throat.
Right.
Now, when I do this, when I host a Second is for Everyone, we don't talk about any politics other than the Second Amendment. I will not tell you who to vote for. I will make you aware of your national level candidates and where they stand on the Second Amendment. And I will tell you, period, I am a one-issue voter. I talk about the Second Amendment. Why? Because usually if you're pro-Second Amendment, we have a lot more in common than that one issue. But understand, this country is setting us up, the media is setting us up, and the powers that be are setting us up with divisiveness. They want to split us apart. They don't want us to be together. They want me to dislike you because of the color of your skin. They want me to run around saying things. Let's look at the George Floyd thing. Man, George Floyd happened now. Where I work in corrections. I am not a corrections officer at all. I'm a civilian that works in corrections. Everyone was on the same page, including the officers I work with, that cop killed that man through either incompetence or intentionally. He killed that man. Most of America was on that page. And then they kept working the race angle. They tried to work the race angle with Breonna Taylor when she was killed with the no-knock warrant by the by the police in Louisville. That didn't work because people went, well, that could have been my address. That wasn't racial at all. That was incompetence. That was government overreach. Well, that didn't work. They tried to do it with Ahmaud Arbery, and people were like, well, these were just nosy dudes that chased the guy down and took the law in their own hand. That could have been me.
Yeah, those were just jerks.
They were like that those were a-holes, and that could have been anybody. It could have been my kid, your kid. They couldn't get the racial angle on it, but they kept hammering the George Floyd, going, the cop is racist. I'm like, that cop did a lot of things, but I didn't see anything that made him overtly racist other than the man he was leaning on was black.
Right.
And the cop was white. But they got a bite. And they kept exploiting it until it didn't even become a George Floyd issue anymore. That's just the name of the thing they march in as they try to destroy cities, as they try to cause hate and divisiveness between people. And It's up to us to not pick that up. We don't need to run with that. No, that's bullcrap. We've seen Black Lives Matter rallies with the Bug Boys with their Hawaiian shirts marching right beside them. And guess what? Nobody gasses them, sprays them with anything. The cops don't come after them. Antifa doesn't swing when you have armed dudes walking down the street. They back right off.
Right.
We are in this together. We learned after 9/11 that Americans can stick together. We have to do it again. We cannot let these people split us apart. That's their end goal. Their end goal is civilian disarmament, and they'll use anything to do it.
Yep. Oh, I tried to type out there as I was listening to you. I can either listen or I can type. I can't do both. And I'd rather listen than type. So now that we have a break and I can't type very well, can I get one of my mods out there to post a link up to Tony's Patreon page? Would one of you go grab that and put it up there? Patriot in the Dark says he would do it, but it's not written in crayon. And
Nice.
as a Marine, he can't read anything else. Although, how do you write Braille in crayon? That's what I really want to know. Dude, I don't even know how you
Scratch
read
a sniff.
Patriot, because I didn't know that Braille writers could even produce anything in crayon. Ghost did put that post out there, so I'm going to throw that up here on the screen for a second. It's just patreon.com/the second is for everyone podcast. Make sure that you put 2ND for second. It is not spelled out. It is just 2ND. The second is for everyone podcast. So go check that Patreon page out as well. And like I said, I'm going to convince my wife that we need to join at the $20 level. I'm just saying.
And if you're in your car and you can't remember the second is for everyone, I think you're going to screw it up. If you go to diversityshoot.com, it has the link there.
Cool. So diversityshoot.com is really easy to remember, and I will make sure that I track that down when we're done here, and I will put that in the link here on Facebook and on YouTube in the video description, so that's up there as well. And I believe I've already got diversityshoot.com in those descriptions, but if I don't, I'll get those in there too for you. So we will try to get all the help that we can get, because it really is going for one of the noblest of causes. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about is, we really are becoming now, as gun owners, we really are becoming even a more diverse group than we've ever been before. And I don't want to get into too much politically as far as racial issues and things like that. If anybody thinks I'm a racist, then they probably should be looking at the screen, just because if I was a racist, I'm not going to have Tony on my podcast, and him and I aren't going to get along. And if he thought I was a racist, he wouldn't come in here and be nice to me either. So, and I'm not saying that I've never screwed things up in the past. I grew up in a place where there aren't anybody but white people. I mean, I grew up in a sea of people that look like me, sound like me, act like me. Probably not act like me, but the thing is that I honestly, I could care less. I don't care if somebody's black, white, brown, purple, you got polka dots or stripes. It doesn't matter to me. If you're an a-hole, then I'm going to treat you like an a-hole. And if you're a nice person, I'm going to treat you like a nice person. I don't care if you are a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body. I don't understand it, but I'm going to treat you nice if you treat me nice. Okay. And that's just the way of it. And that's honestly, I don't know that many Americans, even in my corner of the world where we're not overly diverse. I don't know that many Americans that feel differently. I think if we all could be honest, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of things I don't understand. I don't understand what it's like to grow up on a tobacco farm in Virginia. I don't know what it's like to grow up black. I don't know what it's like to be you. But the thing is, I don't know what it's like to be defense dad either. I don't know what it's like to be Ghost. I don't know what it's like to be my wife. Okay. I only know what it's like to be me. So the fact of the matter is that I can only look at the world through the lens of my own past experiences. But at the same time, I don't care who somebody is. If they want to join the gun owner community and or the 2A advocacy community, because I always say those are two different circles. They do overlap, but they are completely different circles. Anybody that wants in, please come in. We want you. I don't care who you are. Like I said, if you got stripes or polka dots, or you like girls or you like guys, or you don't know what you like, or maybe you want to just go home and eat a jar of peanut butter with a spoon, I don't care. Okay. We want you in our group. You are welcome. Please come join us, because we need all the help that we can get. And one of the things that I really admire about what you do, Tony, is wow, I just read that too. Thanks, Ghost. At least you didn't say Tulsa, because Ghost and I were in Tulsa together for a weekend. So, but what happened in Tulsa stayed on YouTube because somebody live streamed it, and it was me.
Nice.
Yeah, you can go find those early videos on my channel. They're some of the earliest ones I've got. Go check those out. Fun times and hijinks in Tulsa with a whole bunch of YouTube gun channels people, gunchannels.com people back when that was going. Anyway, one of the things that I really admire about what you're doing, Tony, is that you've been trying this you've been trying to accomplish this for quite some time, but it's even more important now because we do have such a diverse cross-section of people who are becoming gun owners. And I know a lot of the new gun owners are looking at their completely absurd gun laws in their state and the federal laws too. And all of a sudden they're saying, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but in my neighborhood, I'm worried that there could be something happen just like that ritzy neighborhood in St. Louis, where there could be a group of people that decide they want to get sideways of me. So I want to do what I can to be prepared and have all the tools I need to handle that kind of problem should one arise. So they go down to the local gun shop and they find out, yeah, you can have this, but you got a 10-day wait or a 30-day wait or whatever it is. You got the gun. Now you want to go buy ammo. Well, another background check for the ammo because this is California. Whatever it is. I mean, a lot of people now who didn't care, or maybe they voted in, they actually were okay with these gun laws because they bought the BS that it was for their own good. Now they're learning that this is not actually in anybody's best interest to have these stupid laws. And so it's so important right now that we get out and we reach all of the people who are just now learning what it means to believe in the Second Amendment and to become gun owners. And some of them, like I said, are both. And maybe if we can get a new gun owner to, and you don't have to be super vocal, but just be a Second Amendment advocate. And if we can get Second Amendment advocates to get over that fear of guns and just go try it, just go shoot one once. You don't have to go buy one. You can go to the Second is for Everyone's diversity shoot and try one out and see if it's for you. And so to get people to maybe get off the fence and come into the fold, and learn that just because your skin is this color, just because your religion worships this deity, just because you have this chromosome, whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't own a gun. And so when it comes down to it, as far as getting everybody into the fold, I mean, what Tony's doing and what I know there's a lot of others, and anybody that is doing things like this and fighting the good fight. I mean, if you're listening to this or you know somebody that is, let me know about them, introduce me to them so that we can spread the word. And because knowledge is power, right? And people don't always know that a thing is out there in the world like a diversity shoot. And so when you have a diversity shoot now, I mean, I know you got a newer one coming up at where it's about to happen next, but when you have a diversity shoot, I mean, what kind of cross section of people are you seeing on a given night? Is there a normal night when that happens? Just kind of shed a little bit of light on the different groups that get represented by the attendees, would you?
Blacks, whites, Asians, Latinos. Oh my!
Lions and tigers and Bears fans.
It's ridiculous, dude. I mean, it's people that feel comfortable. I mean, luckily, I've been doing it in Jersey so long at the Gun for Hire range in Woodland Park. Gun for Hire range itself is open and brings in a bunch of different people, and it often helps that Anthony Calandro advertises it on his podcast, Gun for Hire Radio, and people come out from every walk of life, every salary cap. The very first one, 4 people showed up, and I discovered 3 out of the 4 were millionaires.
Awesome.
I did not know. And it really, when I came into it, I assumed that everybody would be like a lot of us were when we got our first gun, that you just buying the first one you can afford as a young person. So yeah, you're gonna have Savages, Tauruses, Rugers, Palmetto State Armory bills. No, I had like the guy that came out to one of mine asked me within 2 diversity shoots, how does he get a blueprinted Remington 700 made for himself? I'm like, bro, that's gonna be like into the 4 figures, right? Yeah, I don't care. I want one.
Wow.
And that's the kind of things that were happening.
I mean, I want one too. I just can't make it happen.
Yeah, he can make it happen, and that was just one of the things he purchased. And we assume a lot. We assume stuff based on our own lives because it's our perspective. And when I host the event, there are people that think a gun costs $5,000 regardless. So when they find out how much a Glock actually is, they're like, "Oh, I can do that." Our job should be, as gun owners, as veteran gun owners, as people that really care about the Second Amendment, we should be advocates. We should be ambassadors. We don't have to go to marches if you can't afford it. But if you're talking to somebody at work, at the water cooler, at that circle, invite them to shoot, invite them to come out, and just leave it at the gun thing. Don't talk about abortion. Don't talk about any other issue that can be divisive. We're just talking about guns now. And you don't even have to hit them up with, how dumb the gun laws are. You know what Joe Biden's firearms policy. Shh, calm down. They're there to shoot your Ruger 1022, man. Let them get some pew pew going. Because we have the easiest thing. We have an awesome sport/activity/right. We have an awesome one. All it takes is the gun, dude. And once people, they all smile. Very few people go, "Oh my God, I don't ever want to do that again." Unless you do something stupid like I did and give my wife a semi-automatic handgun and not tell her the brass flies out and it hit her in the face and she put the gun down and walked out into the parking lot shaking like a leaf. But that was my bad. I've learned since then.
You know now.
I know now. Still can't get her to come out. But and this is 16 years later. But our job, your mission, if you choose to take it,
right,
is to just grow the community by being the awesome person you already are. You're not a dirtbag. You're a firearms owner. You had to pass background checks. Don't have a felony on your record. You have enough money to buy not only guns, but ammo. Talk to them. Have a conversation. Find out what's in common. Usually, people in the workplace look like you. That's cool. But the person you're talking to is probably the adventuresome one in their circle of friends. So you didn't show up with a mega hat on. You didn't try to push your political agenda. You just had them shoot a gun. They went, "Dang, this was fun. I'm going to call my 3 friends. Hey, can I bring like 3 other dudes with me the next time I go?" "Yeah, you show up with $30 so we can replace this ammo and we can do this." And you take them to the range and you have fun. Somebody's going to buy a gun out of there. Then they're going to find out there's a 10-day waiting period. They need a firearms ID card. They need yo, dude, what the heck? Why do I need all this? Well, sit down, son. Let me talk to you.
Right.
That's how you do it. It's the easiest thing in the world. That's what we do. Take it a little step at a time. I got lucky. I was honored that the Arizona Republican Party contacted me and asked me to be on their Zoom meeting to talk about President Trump and his gun, his Second Amendment stance, and how to talk to gun owners about what all that Trump has done for us. That was interesting because these were Trump campaign workers in Arizona. And I was like, well,
I really want to know what you said. Can you get into it? Do we have time to get into it tonight? Because I really want to take some time and unpack a little of that because I'd like to know too.
I was like, well, depends on what gun owners you're talking about, because Donald Trump had a chance. The Republican Party had a chance the first 2 years of the administration to make a real difference on the gun end. You're going to have to figure out how to explain that they didn't. You're going to have to explain the bump stock thing. I was like, you can't walk away from some of the things that Donald Trump didn't achieve when it came to the Second Amendment.
Mhm.
Now, the best way to talk about what's happened while Trump was in is to compare it to what Joe Biden says he's going to do.
Mhm.
I was like, that's all you can do. And then one of the things they wanted to know was like, how do we get these people to vote Republican? And I'm like, hey, I wouldn't try to get them to vote Republican.
Mhm.
Right now, calm down and just talk about what Donald Trump has done or didn't do, the Second Amendment, how Joe Biden is going to be worse. And if they choose to vote for Trump, they do. But if they choose to stay home and not vote for Biden, well, that's almost the same thing as a vote for Trump. I mean, that's my whole thing. You cannot push your political agenda down someone's throat over a phone call or however you're going to do it.
Mhm.
And Trump hasn't been that Second Amendment friendly. I tried to say it without getting booed out the room because these were like 100 Trump actual campaign workers.
Mhm.
But I had to put it out there. Like, your dude has not lit the world on fire when it comes to Second Amendment. And you can't even point that out. I mean, we can talk about some stuff he's done, but nothing was new or groundbreaking, and he didn't take point on it like he said he would at the 2-3 NRA meetings that he went to.
The 8-year assault on my Second Amendment rights was supposed to be over.
Dude, I was there because I think that one took place in Georgia when he said that one. And people were like, you're going to go see the president? I'm like, no, I live in Jersey. I'm carrying my Glock 19 for the first time. I'm not going to give it up just to go see this dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't carry at home. I can carry here. I have permits. I'm not giving that up to go see him. I can watch him on TV in the green room.
Right? That's awesome. And that's something. And just to go a little bit off on a sidetrack here, this is something that I'm trying to, maybe I'll put this into a standalone video and in my series the way I see it. But a while back, I actually had, I don't even know what it was now. I post a bunch of stuff on Facebook. If you're not, if you haven't liked and followed my Facebook page, sandhillsshooter, then go do that tonight. Some of the stuff is my own thoughts. Some of it's stuff that I just find and I repost it, and it's not all original. And you can usually tell what's original and what's not, because I'll usually, if it's my original thought, it's just a post, or I'll let you know if it's one that I made. But there was some post and somebody had commented on it that said, well, when it comes time to go vote, just vote everybody with an R behind, just vote straight Republican down the ticket. You'll be fine. And I mean, I pulled one of those Captain Jean-Luc Picard face palms. It was okay. So here's my thought. Do not vote Republican. Do not vote Democrat. If you're going to show up and check boxes based on the letter behind somebody's name, then honestly, I'm just going to say this. You are a worthless American, and you are perverting the right to vote and your duty as a citizen. If you go out there and you only care about party lines, then you do not care about your country. So don't do that crap. If you don't know who the candidates are, then don't put a check mark. I've done that in the town that I live. I don't know who the best people are for school board, and I don't have kids in school, so sometimes I don't check any boxes for the school board elections. Okay, when it comes to who's representing me on city council, or me in the state legislature, or me in the federal legislature, or the president, the governor, those things I care about. Those things I'm going to vote. If I think the Democrat candidate is the best candidate, they're going to get my vote. If I think that the Republican candidate is the best candidate, they're going to get my vote. But I don't care who their party is. I care about what they stand for. And if they're up for re-election, I care about what they've done when it was on the line and the decisions that they made. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Do your research and vote the best person to do what you want to see done, regardless of the party.
Let me explain something to you. If you're voting just for the D or the R, what you're doing is selling yourself out to the party. Mm-hmm. You're doing what Black people have done since the Civil Rights Amendment was passed, and they started voting Democrat in large numbers. Now, Blacks started voting Democrat starting in the 1920s. There was a shift. But now, The Democratic Party is so comfortable with black people voting for it and have just assumed that we will vote for them and taken us for granted to the point that the presidential nominee said, if you don't know by this point, if you're voting for me or Donald Trump, you ain't black.
Yeah.
And wasn't worried about the blowback from that and didn't receive as much as he should have. Now, Trump, and again, Trump, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm really not. But when he said, if you voted for Democrats your whole life, why don't you give us a try? And they said that was racist. And I'm like, wow, that was racist? Because my whole thing is I grew up, my father, we had shortwave radio, and he used to make me listen to Voice of America for the news. I also had to listen to Radio Moscow, Radio Cuba, and the BBC.
Wow.
He made me listen to all of those newscasts so I could learn how to listen and how to critically think. Listening, because all communication is manipulation. And he wanted me to see how the same top news stories can be twisted. And I'm seeing that in the news now, and I'm seeing that in headlines now. And I think a lot of Americans have never had that experience to actually have to listen and critically think and pay attention to what's said and how it's said. Words mean things. And a lot of us haven't been paying attention.
And the trend that I'm seeing, sadly, is that every generation, and I know that it tends to go in cycles, but right now we're on the downhill trend in the cycle, to where the generation that is young right now and the generation that's coming up behind them, they are not going to go into school and be taught how to think. You and I were taught how to think. You and I were taught how to solve problems. You and I were taught how to use logic and reason and things like that. That's not being taught today. We have gotten to a point in America where the schools, and I've said this before, where the schools are no longer teaching the students how to think, and instead they're teaching them what to think. And that, to me, is one of the most dangerous things that any society could ever have happen, because that is how brainwashing happens without brainwashing happening.
That actually was the first thing I noticed when I started college. I started going to college when I was in the Marine Corps. And the first thing I took was religion. I took a religious course. And I noticed the professor, who was an ordained minister, would try to tell you what to think. Like, you could not have your own opinion. And that bothered me. And he would say some of the most he would say things about Catholics. He would say things about Jews. It was like my teacher was Archie Bunker. Like, he would say some of the stuff. And I'm like, yo, bruh, pump the brakes, dog. And then there was one guy who was a Muslim black dude. There was only two black guys in the class, me and this other Marine. And this guy would say stuff, and the Muslim dude would be like, that's not right. And he would start arguing with the guy. And I'm like, yo, cuz, look, I'm just trying to pass this class. I can repeat what this parrot-headed idiot up front says. I don't care. I want to get out of here. He's just spouting stuff. You don't have to buy into it. And my man would have to fight with him every week. And I just got out of that class, and I was like, wow, this is just retarded. Oops, sorry. I hope I didn't offend anybody. But I'm like, that just makes no sense. But teaching kids how to think, again, I'm from Southern Virginia. You're from the Midwest. And I think when we were in school, we're 1.5 to 2 generations behind people on the East Coast, in the Northeast, and in California and stuff like that, with the way they think. Mm-hmm. And I think that the brainwashing of the American school system was well ahead of us. He just missed us because we're a little slower to catch up. I really do.
And honestly, if you look at it, I mean, so we'd have to go clear back into the 60s, really, and the hippie movement was really in, and I'm not a historian, and I don't know as much of my history as I need to, but just from what I can see looking back, pre-baby boom, pre-60s, even World War II, Americans were still building this country. I mean, everybody still had to work hard, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to come up with, wackadoo ideas. And I know some still did, and some always will. But at the same time, nothing really that I can see in history really took root, took hold. Um, Maybe you can talk about the flappers in the 20s, but that wasn't everywhere. Um, Maybe you can talk about, a few different things. The Depression hit, and I understand some people in, quote unquote high society never even realized we had a depression. But at the same time, I mean, up until the Second World War ended, Americans, we were still working, we were still building this country, and then all of a sudden things got really easy. And we've all heard it said that easy times create weak men create hard times create strong men create easy times, and it's a circle, right? And not to be sexist, but that's just how the saying has always gone, that I've always heard it. And so I mean, I think that we're kind of seeing that cycle now within our country, and it's not even a generational, within a generation cycle. It's something that each leg of that cycle tends to be a generation now. So we're reaping the benefits of those easy times. We're reaping the really the opposite of benefits. The product though of those easy times now, with now we've got the product of easy times is the weak people, and that is who's coming into power within our country. And it's not a partisan or a political thing. It's just the fact that there's a lot of people that aren't used to having to do for themselves. So
I think I this is what I tell people. When I'm Okay, You're Okay came out, when that came out, I think it was a book, but it was a thought process that took hold. And it was like, no matter what you do or no matter what you are, it's okay. I'm like, no, that's not true. That is not true. If you want to believe this, if you want to do this, no, that's not true. You and I'm not. If you're morally bankrupt and you have built your morals upon nothing except the way you feel, and if you don't believe there's anything bigger than you, I'm talking either religious wise, and you believe in God, or just country, and you think your community, there's something bigger than you. If you don't believe any of that, you think you're the end all be all. They were saying that's okay, and I'm like, no, that is not okay. And if you
Right.
don't build upon that, and if you're that selfish, and that's what we're reaping right now, we're reaping that because they didn't have to be a community. There are people that don't know who the people who live across the street from them are, because you didn't have to depend on each other for that. You had to do that during hard times. You had to do that in farming communities. You had to do that growing up. You had to know your neighbors because you had to work together. That's no longer the case, and it's poo-pooed and you're a hick, and you're backwoods if you know how to do anything.
Or you're
And
a
I think,
Nazi.
well, everybody's a Nazi. Hey, listen, the Nazi party really just lowered the damn bar.
That's no kidding.
Yeah, they just lowered the bar. Anybody can get in now. But it's like everything that we used to base our morals on as a country, we've walked away from as a society if you watch the media. Now, if you look at what's around you, that's bullcrap. You've watched during every disaster, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, you watch the community come together and blow that crap out. Even power outages, you watch people go, hey, I have a generator, I'm running power strips in the front of my house, come by and recharge your phones and stuff. People do that all the time. And one of the points of my diversity shoot is to point that out. Don't buy into the bullcrap. They've been telling you all of America's burning. Meanwhile, no, it's not true. Even the George Floyd thing, all of America's, but that was like a 2-block area. That was not all of Minneapolis. It's a lie. They're using what used to be called yellow journalism to try to get the ends that they want to achieve just by lying about it and saying it's happening. That's a lie. The real truth is there are 19 million new NICS checks done, and the largest growing number of those are Black people and women. The community is growing, and it's up to us to recruit these people and bring them in. And again, as Second Amendment advocates, as gun owners, that's our end. That's the way we get in. Just, you don't have to push the agenda hard, because when they smack into that reality, when they find out that they want to stop being able to buy ammo online, when they stop not allowing private sales, when they put a magazine limitation where they pull the number out of their buttocks and just come up with a 7. What? Yeah, the new magazine limitation is 7. They will take. And you let them know there's Second Amendment groups in the state. There's people you can talk to. You can get together. You can get little grassroots groups on your Facebook page, on your Instagram. You do that, even though we're dealing with being shadow banned as gun owners because of our content. You can still work it. You can still talk to each other through these venues. Use it. Use it. Share content. Share, your podcast with someone, and my podcast, Liberal Gun Owners Podcast. I mean, there are a lot of us out there doing things that people can identify with. And then all of a sudden you're listening to somebody that's the same political or race or sexual orientation as you. And you go, wow, never thought about it. If a white dude starts talking to black people about how they need to vote, well, you sound like Joe Biden.
Right.
But if I'm going, you need to think your way through this and figure out what's more important to you. They might take the very same words a totally different way.
Exactly. Which
that,
is, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's actually something I learned when I joined the Marine Corps, because I played football through high school and I was a lineman. I was 235 pounds at 6'1", and I went to the Marine Corps, and I came out 90 days later, Marine Corps boot camp, at 125 pounds. Wow. And I've learned when I lost 110 pounds that when you make jokes at 235, people laugh, and when you make jokes at 125, they want to fight. It's like you learn, depending on who someone is and when it's coming from, how they take it. And look, man, you might not be able to talk to some people like you think, even if you're not a racist, and maybe if your friends are black. If you're a white dude and you say, listen, some of my best friends are black, and let me tell you how to vote, that ain't going to go over well. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just be you. I can imagine. And it sucks, because a lot of people are 100% honest. Yeah, their best friends are black, but that ain't the way you recruit more friends. So just be you, talk to people. Don't judge. You can have your opinion, but you don't have to judge.
I've often thought that if I'm ever put into a position where I'm talking to people who don't look like me, sound like me, act like me, whatever, think like me, it seems like the best way for me to reach somebody that is outside my own demographic is just to say, look, I don't know what it's like to be you. I don't know what it's like to grow up on these streets. Number one, I'm willing to learn. Number two, I don't need to know what it feels like to care. And I'm here to listen, and I just want to get to know people. And I want to know what's going on. And I've often thought that I hope that I would say something to that effect if I was ever in that position. But at the same time, if we ever had a candidate on the presidential scale, or even down to just city council, if there's somebody just running for city council or alderman in your town who says, look, I grew up in this neighborhood, and I don't know what it's like to grow up in your neighborhood. I don't know what it's like to be you, but my door is open and I'm willing to listen. And I just want you to give me a chance. Come talk to me and let's work this out together. If we could have a candidate that would just be honest, instead of say, and I'm just going to pick on the Democrat Party because of the primary debates that were happening earlier this year and last year. I mean, when we had a stage full of people up there that were all trying to out woke each other and all trying to out diversify each other, well, I'm half black. Well, my son is black. Well, my mom came from India. Dude, just be you and say, look, I don't know all the answers, but that's the best part about America is no one person needs to know all the answers. Let's talk about it and come up with a plan. I mean, how refreshing would that be if somebody just cut all the BS out and just was real for 5 minutes on one of those stages?
All right, I hope I'm not roboting because you sounded like you were, so it's probably my connection.
It's probably me screaming into my mic.
Oh, either way, I think one of the funniest parts of the Democratic debates was everyone had to speak Spanish. Um, it was just like, wow, panda harder, baby, panda harder. Like, what, why Spanish? Like, are we going to speak Ukrainian next? I mean, what is this? And that's the thing. Everyone panders, and it's acceptable. I think really we're in a part of American history where the Emperor's New Clothes actually is a documentary.
Oh my
It's like
gosh.
no one's really going to point out that I don't care if the president speaks Spanish. I'm like, the conquistadors all spoke Spanish too and just
Yeah.
slaughtered their way through Central and South America. I'm
In
like,
fact, if it wasn't for
Spanish-
them, half of Latin America wouldn't be Latin.
So I'm like, the language thing means absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
I don't like politicians, period, because I don't trust them regardless of the party. Republican Party's hands aren't clean either. I mean, when it comes to blacks, because I know they love it when you point out that, the Democratic Party is the party of the Klan.
Mhm.
They founded the Klan. Their Jefferson Davis is a Democrat. Wikipedia ain't changed that yet with his political party. And Republicans go, yeah. And I'm like, well, Republicans didn't do anything with Reconstruction.
Yeah.
You didn't make that dream come true. You didn't live up to the ethos of all men are created equal, even after a civil war that tore the country apart. You didn't make it happen. And I continually say, just imagine if the Republicans would have lived up to their end of the deal. And instead of 1968 with the last Civil Rights Act signed, it happened in 1868. What would happen if there was like 100 years less of segregation and racism, or however you had it, that we weren't equal?
Mhm.
When would we have landed on the moon? You know what I mean? When would other inventions had happened? When would other great things have happened if it wasn't for that wasted 100 years? So no party gets a pass.
Right.
You have to hold all parties, all politicians responsible for the things they do. And as a firearms owner, because that's who we're talking to, you guys out there right now, mostly, you have to be politically active. You on diversityshoot.com on the page, I have a way for you to reach every politician on every level, from state, federal, and local. I have that contact information on my page. Use it. They should know you. I had Fat Boy, our governor, Chris Christie, on speed dial. I hit him up all the time. Yeah, don't sign this. My name is Tony Simon. I live here. Don't sign this because I won't vote for you, and I'll actively campaign against you. diversityshoot.com. That was it. You don't have to. You don't have to be super eloquent. You don't have to be Thomas Paine. You don't have to give a "give me liberty" or "give me death" speech.
Right.
All you have to do is say, this is my name, this is my district, and if you don't vote or you vote for this, I won't vote for you.
Mhm.
And just have it be a thing, because these are actually your employees. Treat it as such.
We've lost sight of
We
that
don't.
too as a country.
70% of voters don't vote in off-season elections. They don't vote. If there ain't a primary, if it's not the big one every 4 years, they don't vote. And that's a huge mistake, because all politics are local.
Mhm.
And when you let that go, you make a huge mistake. And I think COVID has shown you how local politics are.
I think so. I think that more people now are understanding just how important the governor in their state is compared to electing the right president. I mean, electing the right governor and electing the right sheriff are super, super important, always have been. But all of a sudden, we're understanding now. I think more people are understanding now how important the governor and the sheriff are in your local elections. So yeah, that's super important to do. Just last week when we had John Petrolino with us, we were talking about Virginia and what happened last fall there, and how hopefully the other 49 states can. Well, okay, I know not all 49 are gonna just sit up and take notice, all of them, but hopefully still the other 49 states will just take notice and see what happens when the good people, and I'm not saying that I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but in Virginia, we had a lot of people that got real complacent, got real apathetic, and didn't show up at the poll. And all of a sudden, overnight, they got stripped of so many of the rights that they cannot have taken away, and yet they don't have them right now. And so the reason that I started to say good people, it makes me think of Edmund Burke's saying that the only thing necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing, right? And so I'm not gonna say that the gun prohibition crowd is evil. I know a lot of them are coming from a place of compassion. I know a lot of them are coming, their hearts are in the right place, even though they're going about it wrong. And so I'm not gonna say that the gun prohibitionists are evil people. They're not bad people, but I just don't think they understand exactly what it is that they want and what it can possibly cause if they get what they want. But we've seen what happens in certain states when they do get what they want. And if it's not an eye-opener now with COVID, with new gun owners, with people that can't buy guns, Defense Dad has seen several people even in Nebraska who weren't aware of the process of buying a firearm. And in Nebraska, if you want to buy a handgun from a dealer, you can go through the NICS check and wait the 3 days and all that. But we have a pistol purchase permit that you can go to your local sheriff's department, or in certain towns, you can even go to the local PD. It's a $5 permit. You do the NICS check once, and then you get your permit, and it's good for, I think, 5 years. And as long as you've got that permit in hand, it hasn't been revoked, then you can cash and carry a pistol that day from any licensed firearm dealer in Nebraska because your NICS check has been done. And so if you've got a concealed carry permit, same thing. NICS check or the background check has been done for you. And so a lot of people didn't understand that this is required to buy a handgun. And so they would try to walk out the same day with this handgun that they all of a sudden have decided, hey, this is important for me to have this. What do you mean I can't have this? I just paid for this. Why can't I take it home? I own this. This is my property. And you're telling me I can't go home with it? Yes, that's exactly what they're getting told. That's exactly what the law says, because you have to wait for your background check to clear. And so
now let's
ahead.
sell them a suppressor. Now let's sell them a suppressor.
Right.
You can get it in 6 to 9 months.
If you're lucky. I've had people tell me it took over 12. Yes, it's just crazy.
And you're 100% right. We have to. Our job is to recruit those people because they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. Take your time. Talk to them. That's what the diversity shoot is about. We have anti-gunners come in. We have a conversation because they ask those questions. No, these people aren't evil. Now, the jackwagons behind it and that's funding it, I believe those are some of the evil little trolls on the planet.
Amen.
Because they know what they're doing and they know what their overall goal is, and it has nothing to do with saving the babies.
Right.
Their goal is, dude, American history is full of it, and what happens when they disarm you. And yes, as a black man, I point out, the Red Summer from 1919, 1920, 1921, where entire towns of black people were wiped off the map, like Rosewood, like Tulsa, Black Wall Street, that whole thing. Google it if you don't know, and then be horrified about it because the authorities were in on massacring people too. But understand, the Battle of Athens, that took place in Tennessee, right? Was that Tennessee, Athens, Georgia? I forget which one.
Athens, Tennessee.
All right, boom. Athens, Tennessee. How veterans had to take up arms to fight the government there because they were rigging elections. That just is not just a black thing. It's not just a thing. It's government will take until you stop them. That's why we have a Second Amendment. That's why you can't shoot a fighter plane down with an AR-15. Yeah, okay. What's the name of the Taliban Air Force, and how many dogfights have you seen them in? We've been
Right.
fighting them for 20 years. It's called asymmetrical warfare. I hope we never get there because I'm fat, old, and lazy. And when I stand up, I sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies. I am not ready to fight a war. I'm not ready to do a setup. I'm old. Let's fight this thing over the phone. Let's go to rallies. Let's speak. Let's vote. Let's recruit. I do not have the energy to fight a war.
Yeah.
I'm not doing burpees. I'm not, all right, we're done. The days of Tony doing mountain climbers in boot camp is over.
Yeah, here a while back, a lot of people I know online were posting the 22 push-up challenge videos, which is a great. I don't want to take away from it. It's amazing, as far as just bringing awareness to the 22 veterans who commit suicide every day in this country on average. So we definitely need to bring awareness. But somebody had said, "Hey, is it cool if I add you to my challenge?" And I'm like, let's not show the whole world that Sandhills can't do 22 straight push-ups. I'm gonna have to get myself in a little bit better shape before I take that challenge. I need to get challenged to get into shape to take the challenge.
Let me explain. I didn't want to raise the number of veterans that killed themselves to 23 by trying to do 22 push-ups. All right.
I'm not a veteran, but I
all right. Yes, I'm joking, and if you took that to heart, really, you have thin skin. But yeah, dude, I totally understand, and I think that's one of the things I'm going to be doing actually on my channel and on my podcast, talking about how I am trying to get back into shape, just because there is no reason. If you can physically do it, to be out of shape. Let's get this together, because really, think about what we're saying now. We're from a generation removed. We're trying to get people to think clearly. We're trying to get people to critically think. We need to be around to do it.
Yep.
I think the work of the diversity shoot, our mission is important. I don't think I am, but I am here to push that mission right now, and other people can freely take it up. You know what I mean? But I want to do my part, and to do my part, I have to be healthy. I have to be around. And I'm being seen more. I'm going to be at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, even though they're not hosting it. We're doing it online. I have a speech there. We have a Second Amendment rally coming up in October in DC. I'll be speaking there. People judge you on how you look. As a firearms instructor, they still judge you on how you look. I have to get in better shape so I look like I can teach you things. And people have a bias, I mean, I'm, again, largest pound for pound firearms instructor in America. And I just have to be in better shape. And we all do, because we all want to live longer. We all want to do this. We all want to fight what we find is right now divisiveness in America that's tearing this country apart. And it's not as great as it used to be when we grew up. And I'm not talking politically wise. I'm talking about the way we got along. The way we did things together, a lot of that's gone, and it doesn't have to be.
People getting along and neighborhoods being neighborly. I don't know if you remember this, but it's been several months ago now. Gun Websites actually hosted a chat. Several of us were on it. I think you were there. I was there. And if you don't remember me, that's okay, because I'm sure you were thinking, who the hell is this Sandhills Shooter guy? I never heard of him before. But you told a story about, I think it was right after 9/11, when one of your neighbors was missing for a long time, right? Or was away from home for a long. Would you just tell that story? I want to hear the story again about your neighborhood in New Jersey. And people
my neighborhood in
together.
New Jersey. My street was very diverse. We had the Asian guy living 2 houses down that rented his apartment from the Polish guy who owned the house. We had the Italian sisters across the street that had never been married. We had, the black family with 18 kids next door. They didn't have 18 kids. They had like 6, but everybody had friends and cousins over. So it was just like, wow. So we had Latinos across the street. And we had them
like
all
a series on the CW right now. Any series,
bro, it's hilarious, right? So I mean, it was just a cool street, and you'd walk down it, and people say hi, but you didn't get into anybody's business, but you say hello. You saw a lady helping, watering something, and she dropped it. You pick it up, but nobody was like kumbaya, and we weren't going around like the Cosby Show delivering casseroles to each other. But we all knew each other. Well, we knew G lived next door with his 2 daughters. G's wife had become a drug addict and dropped off. She was addicted to crack. She was out of the picture. This man was raising his 2 teenage daughters. His one daughter was the number 2 or 3 student in the country with grade point average and everything else.
Wow.
She was going places. And she was doing a good job. His whole thing was, look, girls, you come home, you come directly home, you walk in the house, you lock the door, you do your homework, and I'll be in. You don't go outside and play, you just stay in the house. That was his thing. That's what the girls did. G worked in the city. He worked in the World Trade Center. He was there during the first bombing in the 90s. Well, he was there. He was in the second building. He worked in the computer center in the middle of the second building, in the middle of his area, so it was secured. One of his co-workers ran to the door, beat on the door, and this is in a professional place, computer software place in New York City. Grab your S and get the F out. She screamed through the door while beating on it. Nobody curses in that environment. They don't scream. He goes, what? She ran. She said, something happened in the other building and we have to evacuate now. He grabs his stuff. He takes off. So by now, he's getting out of the building. He's leaving. He helped a pregnant lady down the steps because he only thought it was a fire alarm. That's going on. He's evacuating the building. We don't know that. We all live there and we're like, G works in the World Trade Center. He works in the Twin Towers. Did he get out? We don't know. It's like 4 o'clock. You know the story now, how people were trying to escape from New York. We didn't then. We had no freaking clue. So we're outside, and little by little, more of us started coming outside as time went on. It's 6 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock, and the entire neighborhood, all of us are sitting out, and we're standing in front of his house. We're not going to knock on the door because we know what he's told his girls. But we're all thinking, if G is dead, if G is gone, that means his wife is going to get this house, and she's going to be raising his girls, and this woman is an actual crackhead. And you're sitting there going, this girl is one of the brightest students in America. Like, it's on paper, it's real, and her future's done, and our neighbor's gone. And we were just all nervous. And I'm talking 20, 30 people standing outside. And then his car pulled around the corner. He didn't even get to park it. We surrounded it in the streets, man. He got out. He's like, let me park the car. I'm okay. I'm okay. He's like, I'm fine. I made it out. I just want to get in and see my girls. And he told us a story about how he had to get out of New York, how he got out of the building, all that stuff later. But we were all standing around that black, white, Asian, gay, straight. It made no difference. We were all worried about this guy raising his kids. And that's freaking America, dude.
Amen.
Not this divisive bullcrap they're trying to force on us now. It's a lie created by the media that they're hoping comes true.
Absolutely. And if anybody's listening to this, if you caught no other part of this podcast but the story that Tony just told, it is worth it. I generally don't go back and re-edit and cut pieces out, but I may do that just because that story means so much to me. Meant so much to me when I first heard it. It means so much to me now hearing it again, because that's the kind of world I grew up in, where literally everybody knows everybody. I had my graduating class when I was a senior in high school. We had 19 people walk across the stage. One of them was a Swedish exchange student. So technically there were 18 of us. One of us, not me, but one of my classmates had actually dropped out of school. He was almost too old to be in school. He came back so that he could get his diploma instead of a GED, and walked across the stage. And he our whole senior year, he was our classmate, almost 20 years old. Walking across that stage, doing what he needed to do for himself. So if he hadn't come back and we hadn't had Finn, our exchange student, 17 of us walked across the stage in my graduating class. That's the place that I came from. We knew everybody and their dog. We knew each other's dogs' names. Okay. We all knew each other's middle names. When something bad happens in the community I came from, there really are people who bake casseroles and bring them over. If somebody, forbid, passes away in your family, you're not going to cook for a week. the only thing you're going to have to figure out is where to put all this food to keep it cold until it's time to reheat it. That's the world I grew up in. That to me is America. Well, to me, it's normal. To me, it's just home. But looking around now, I mean, that is still the truest representation of America. And what you just described, same exact thing. No casseroles, but same exact thing. It is all of a sudden, there's something that is bigger than any of us. And there's something that is bigger than any of our petty differences. And all of a sudden, the things that make us different from each other, they don't matter. They never did, honestly. But all of a sudden, more people found out that, hey, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, what color my skin is, what color your hair is, how tall you are, how wide I am, any of that kind of stuff. None of that mattered on September 12th. I wish that we could have a September 12th America today. It's not even been 20 years. And, we've got people that are voting that weren't alive for that don't remember that day. Yeah. In this, we got voters in this election that weren't around for that. And so that to me is, I mean, one of the highest points in our country. I know that we were recoiling from a cheap shot. Okay. But the fact that we all came together and there weren't black people or white people on September 12th, there weren't Catholics or Protestants or Jews or Muslims on September 12th. There were only Americans. And that's all that mattered. And I wish that we could still be that right now.
I was on my way to the middle of nowhere, New Jersey, when 9/11 happened. I've never seen the plane fly into the building. I've never seen it. I've never seen any of the footage because I wouldn't watch it. I was actually listening to Howard Stern. I was listening to Howard Stern, and I was on the road to do a job at Phillipsburg Mall. Phillipsburg is right on the edge of Jersey. Actually, it's like 2 miles away from the range we're going to actually be at Thursday. Cool. Country, big mall, but in the middle of farm country out there. I'm on my way. 9/11 happens. I'm listening to the plane fly into the building on Howard Stern, and it sounds like, I mean, I'm with him. You know what I mean? This is radio. And you think it's a Cessna. Then you find out it's not. Then you find out a second plane hit. And then you find out other planes are missing, and one went down the field, another one hit the Pentagon. And Howard Stern said, "Oh my God, we're under attack." And my blood ran cold because I joined the Marine Corps at 17. But I decided to join the Marine Corps during the Beirut bombing in '83. That's when I decided to join the Marine Corps, because America was attacked and I was going to do something about it. Now here I am, 9/11. I've been out of the Corps for a while. And I'm rethinking everything. Like, how do I join back up? What do I do? F this. This is my. Sorry, getting a little emotional.
No, it's okay.
Passion
is welcome here.
I'm on my way to Phillipsburg, again, middle of nowhere. I pull up, mall parking lot is empty. There's like 3 cars there in the entire mall, and they're sitting in the car too. So I know they're listening to the news. Get out the car. And again, I'm 6'2". At that time, like 375. These a little white lady. Dude, we walked up to each other and was like, "This is crazy." She was like, "Yeah." And we just looked at each other like, it was just a closeness there. Somebody that I don't know, never seen before, from a completely different place. We were on the same page. We walk into the mall. She goes her way, I go mine. I go to the store that I had to do work in. It was actually a Hallmark card store. No one was in the mall. Most stores were closed. Me and that lady just talked. I changed the locks on her doors because I'm a locksmith. I changed the locks on her doors, and we talked for like an hour and a half. Just being 2 Americans. In the aftermath, actually wasn't even aftermath. It was still happening. There were still planes in the air, and we didn't know when. They were forcing planes down across the country. And then I had to drive back. And then we had the thing with G happen that night. We've lost all of that. Mm-hmm. We've lost that because if you're 25 years old, you don't remember that. Mm-hmm. There are guys in the military that weren't alive when that happened.
Mhm.
We've let that slip, and we've let people divide us, and that's to the detriment of us all, because we're strong, man. And I think there's another reason we haven't had a terrorist attack in the entire time, a large terrorist attack in the entire time that Trump has been president, because that would bring us together again.
Right.
I mean, tinfoil hat secured on my head, but that's in no one's best interest to bring America together again right now.
Except it's in everyone's best interest to bring America
Sad.
together again, right?
Yeah, and if we could do it without a tragedy, I'd love it.
Me too.
I'd love it, because the loss of life was horrific. The impact on our economy was horrible. The fact that for the last 2 decades we've been fighting around the world, and again, as a veteran, I know what it does when you're deployed for a year at a time or more from your family. A lot of things are happening that don't need to be happening, but we need to get together again, and we need to stop buying into this bull crap that the news is pumping down your throat. We really do.
Amen. Amen. All right. So you and I have been talking a lot here, and I've got a few other people on my panel, and I have not let them talk yet because they've been gracious panelists and have not been jumping in here. So I'm going to step back for a second and just let Nighthawk and Defense Dad have a little chance to talk to Tony a little bit too. So Nighthawk, you were the first one I introduced, so I will just let you you have the floor. If there's anything that you want to bring up, I don't know if you took notes or not. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but anything that you wanted to add to the conversation or questions that you have for Tony, now is your time, sir.
Hey, Tony. So, hoorah from an old soldier. Okay. And all that passes over when you're an old veteran, right?
Yeah, right. We just crack jokes. We just crack jokes now because we can't do any of the stuff we used to.
Time is the great thief. But thank you for your service now and in the past. I joined the Second Amendment community truly as an advocate. I carried my own weapon and protected my own and watched my own six and that of my battle buddies in the service. But I never really got into it until a kid shot up a reserve center here in my hometown. And I was close enough to hear the AK firing, but too far away to do anything about it. And I realized that something was coming, that we had to start to make a change, and got into it. So, sir, my hat is off to you. The fact that you are unifying, bringing people together under what is the single cause that is probably most critical to us during this time. Mind-blowing, unbelievable. I've already spent money on the website. We'll do more. Super psyched to get to hear you speak and to talk to you today. I do have a question for you. How did you start? Really? How did this become such a fire?
It really was anger from after Sandy Hook. I mean, they were just pushing in New Jersey. They were pushing every gun law. I know nationally they were, but New Jersey was on it immediately. I'm talking dozens of gun laws. And I just spent a significant amount of money getting my instructor credentials. I had this pipe dream that I was going to be the greatest firearms instructor in the world. And then now I found out you're going to ban everything and make it illegal to even teach someone to shoot a gun. And it was all based on lies. They were lying. The government did not stop the first mass shooting. It didn't stop the last mass shooting, and it won't stop the next mass shooting. So why am I believing the crap you're saying? And I just wanted to say that in a way and actually say it to the representatives and then tell other people how to say it. And it continued to snowball from there. It was like, how do I get more people to write their congressmen and their legislators? So my friend Sean, and I'll go ahead and give him a shout out, Black Bag Resources, because he's the one that trained me with the NRA, program. And we sat in his apartment, and we took 5 hours to actually write a letter, like formulate a letter, how to not get too preachy, how to make our points. And we wrote it, and then we went on Facebook. And, when you first join Facebook and you're into firearms, you join every gun group. So we posted a picture of our letter to every gun group and said, copy this letter or use it as your format, copy and paste it, whatever you have to do, but write your legislators now, don't wait. And it went viral. And that was our first step into activism. That's how we did it in 2013.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Cool. All right, Defense Dad, we will give you a chance to jump in here now. Anything that you want to add or ask, go ahead.
Well, honestly, I really enjoyed this because, Tony, you're right. You've mentioned that you can bring people into the fold that the rest of the three of us on here tonight can't do because, well, I'm just going to turn my camera on, which I don't normally do on this show, but
you're a pretty man. You should do that. There you go.
Well, so here's my point. I am a fat white guy with a beard who owns guns. So by proxy, I have to be racist, correct? So for me to say some of those to try to get someone who doesn't look like me into the 2A community, which by the way, I didn't get a chance to talk to you before the show. Like I am newer to the 2A community, probably newer than anybody on here, and I jumped wholeheartedly. But I can't be a proponent in the way that you can because it's not going to be received. So I'm really glad to see that you're doing the hard work out there and getting people in here. It's refreshing because it times like this, like I got into this to protect my daughter and my family and my home, and it's just it's so neat. Like I joined the gun community and like Sandhills knows this. Like I grew up in the car community, and this is the only community that's as accepting and as friendly as the car community that I've ever come across. So, just wanted to give you props for the things you're doing, and back to the things like on the media, like they are skewing it. Like they don't want you and I to agree on stuff. Like if I were to be able to make it up to your diversity shoot, for you and I to walk side by side and get along, that's not going to get media coverage because they don't want you and I to get along.
I've had CNN come to us. I had Vice. None of them completed the story. None of them even ran with the story once they found out what Diversity Shoot was about. It just wrecks them. It's not what they expect. They expect me either to be NAGA, National African American Gun Club, and just have blacks in my event, or they expect me to be like Not Frickin' Around crew or whatever those guys were called. I'm like, no, I have everybody in my event. And the reason this is a success is because everyone wants it to succeed. Mm-hmm. And it's not about segregation. It's about integration. It's about growing together. And it's like, nope, don't want that story out there. And that's right. It, man. I mean, I was in USCCA magazine. I wrote an article for them. But that's as close to mainstream media as I've gotten because they do not need this story out there. NRA magazine didn't even put me in it. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've been a USCCA member for, gosh, it's been probably a year by now. That's a cool magazine, by the way. If anybody wants a cool magazine to read, become part of USCCA because the subscription is just part of the membership. And the thing comes usually every other month, but it's a magazine, but it's still, it's that thick. It's huge. It takes a while to get through it, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. And usually each issue has kind of a theme, whether it's about the firearms or about the advocacy or whatever it is, or the legal issues, because that's what they are. There it is right there.
This is Beth Alcazar. She's the editor of USCC magazine, and this is the book she wrote. And she's a friend of mine. She sent me this because I told her I'm often trying to, I have a lot of women that I teach. I have a lot of older people that I teach. And the more I know, this is women's handgun and self-defense fundamentals. Why am I reading it? Because the better instructor I can be for my students, regardless of their gender, the better off they are and the better off I am. Absolutely. And that book is on sale, I think, on USCCA's website. And she writes a lot of articles. Dude, she is such a great writer and editor.
Everybody that contributes to that magazine is great.
It's worth it, even if you live in Jersey, because you cannot be covered by USCCA in New Jersey.
Right.
You have to be a member of U.S. Law Shield in New Jersey. That's the only one we're covered. Self-defense insurance is really, really important, especially if you carry every day. You want to be covered. And I think their highest level is like $400 a year, but it's like $1 million in coverage, man.
Yeah.
Do what you can, look into it. It's really worth it.
I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of people say, well, that'd be nice, but I don't know that I can afford it. But if you conceal carry and you ever have to send a round down that barrel, you can't afford not to have some sort of coverage, because you will not, unless you are already a multimillionaire, you will not recover financially from sending a bullet down the barrel. Rule of thumb that I heard here a while back on a different podcast was every bullet, or every time you pull the trigger, that is $100,000 in legal fees and court costs.
Amen.
I'll just say retaining of a lawyer is $10,000 to $15,000, and that's jump. And I'll throw a number out there because everyone knows the case. George Zimmerman, $1 million in legal fees. Understand this: no matter how you feel about the Zimmerman case, he was cleared before you ever heard of him. He was cleared by the DA. Charges were dropped, and then it became a national spectacle. And $1 million later, he's charges dropped, but his name is mud now.
Right.
Whether he deserved it or not, I'm just saying that was a self-defense shoot. It was deemed good, and then politics got involved. That could happen to you too. Don't think it can't.
It absolutely could, especially if you look like me and the person that takes that bullet does not look like me. Then you've got that weighing into it too. And in some states, they're trying to make that even bigger penalty because it was clearly done in hatred.
But here's the thing: even if it wasn't, let's say it was a person in the LGBT community. You know what I'm saying? Or this person had political connections, because again, as a locksmith, I've seen the doctor's son, the upstanding family's kid, committing crimes because they were addicted to opioids. You just defended your family. All of a sudden, you find out the person that you put rounds through is connected politically, and your life is tossed up in the air. So yeah, it could not only be a race thing; it could be anything. Cover your assets, man.
Absolutely do so. All right. Well, it is getting late where you are, and it's getting kind of late where I am. So we should probably wrap this up. I tell you what, man, this has been one of the most fun evenings that I've spent with somebody. I'm pretty sure you and I could probably just keep going until the sun comes up, and we still wouldn't run out of things to talk about. But for the sake of everybody who's staying up late with us, for the sake of you who and Nighthawk, who are over there in the Eastern time zone, it's almost tomorrow already, we will start to wrap things up a little bit. So real quick here, I will just let everybody here on the panel, anything that you guys want to wrap up, any last words, and then of course any plugs for your channel, videos, or other projects that you're working on social media. Go ahead and plug those. Defense Dad will let you start this time.
Hey, as always, thanks for having me. I really did. This was a fun chat, and this is an important chat to have. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to check out my channel, it's Defense Dad. I'm pretty much just on YouTube so far. Got a few new videos have just come out recently. Got a few that are going to be released pretty soon. But check out everybody's stuff on the panel. I mean, it's all great content. So that's it.
All right. Thanks for being here. All right. Nighthawk, anything that you want to add before we wrap it up?
John, thanks for having me as always. I love being here. And I was seriously, 12-year-old schoolgirl geeked out about listening to Tony talk tonight. So I really appreciate you pulling me into this panel. Nighthawk Medic Shoots on full30.com and youtube.com. We found some ammo underneath an old barn the other day, so we might actually review a gun this week. Cool. And thanks again for having me. Tony, again, amazing, sir. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
All right. And then, Tony, anything that you want to say before we go, anything that you haven't had a chance to mention, and then all the projects. And I also want to know where people can find you besides just diversityshoot.com. Where else can we find you? I know out there a long time ago, early in the night, somebody asked if you had a YouTube channel. So go ahead and take it away, would you?
All right. YouTube. The way to find me on YouTube is Simon Says Train. I was in the chats earlier. That's my channel. I post my YouTube, my podcast, The Second is for Everyone, or the 2A4E podcast. That's on my YouTube. I throw videos up when I have them. I did SHOT Show this year. I also did the Great American Outdoor Show. Those videos are on. If you want to meet me, run into me on IG, Simon Says Train on Instagram. I also have Simon Says Train on Facebook, but I do have the page The Second is for Everyone on Facebook also. DiversityShoot.com is out there. And again, you can listen to the 2A4E podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all that stuff. You can find us there. You can support us with GoFundMe. That really helps. GoFundMe, PayPal, and Patreon. And on Patreon, you get gifts back when we pull your name out. Don't tell anybody. But that's what we do over there. Also, when you support us, all right, here it is for you guys on cam. This is my picture. If you see that, yeah, that's a picture I took as a joke, but what happened is we created some t-shirts, and if you go to diversityshoot.com and buy our t-shirt with me in the bubble bath that says Planet Lovetron, actually that money is split between myself and Aaron Paulette at Pink Pistols and Operation Blazing Sword, which is the largest LGBT Second Amendment community in America. We split the funds on that because it's about growing the community. I also have 2A4E t-shirts on sale. The funniest way you can get to that is 1022 Clothing, 1022clothing.us. And the reason it's 1022clothing.us is because it's tactical. It's clothing for dudes that are bigger. It's like 5'11", but twice as big. 1022clothing.us. Our t-shirts go up to 6X. If you buy one of my blue t-shirts, it says gun control equals racism. I do not get paid on that shirt. All you're doing is paying my shirt maker to make it. That shirt goes to you. It's set up so you and your friends could go to a rally and you all can have the same t-shirt on for $10 shipped. That's it. Because the visual is what we need, because Moms Demand have their red shirts and it looks like a sea of those friggin' Karens, the gaggle of Karens out there. And it's only a few of them, but it looks like a lot. So if we could roll up to events and 10, 12 guys in a shirt, or ladies or whatever, it looks like there's more of us. We're on the same page, and gun control equals racism starts the conversation. And that's why I have that. You don't see guns on my stuff because I don't want this conversation to start prejudiced against you with an AR-15 on your shirt. Other companies can do it. I might make one later for people that just want to have some cool stuff. But right now, I'm just trying to start a civil conversation between human beings. And that's where we need to start with this, because they have you in this box that you're a racist redneck bug boy who's a right wing alt-right. I don't even know what the hell that is, but I know one thing.
Sure either.
I just bought 2 more Hawaiian shirts and I don't even like Hawaiian shirts. I think they're ugly as hell, but I'm in for the fight now. You done made me mad. So I got 2 ugly ass Hawaiian shirts to come that I'm gonna do videos in just because you said it was racist.
That's awesome.
Hey, dude, we all reach out. We all can make a difference. Every single one of us. You don't have to be an activist. You don't have to start a group. You just have to be a responsible American and vote and call your politicians. And then as a gun owner, you know you want somebody else to shoot your gun. Invite them. It makes no difference if they're as white can be. We want their vote too. We want them to make phone calls. Grow the community. Each one, reach one.
Throw a little shade out there in the chat. That is amazing. So go find Tony at all of the places where you can find Tony. If you are in the area, go check out the diversity shoots. And dude, if I could afford to get you to Nebraska to do one of those here, I don't know that there's anybody in at least my end of the state that's doing any such thing. And maybe there is, and I'm not aware of it. But if we could get diversity shoots started out here, and I've thought about it just because you've been an inspiration. I've thought about it. I just don't know how to go about getting it started. So if you've got any pointers, I mean, throw those into an email and shoot them to me, because that would be cool. And if we could have you even just come out and help out with one, that'd be even better. but that's definitely something that needs to take root all across this country. We need to have diversity shoots. I can't think of a better possible way to not only get people into the fold, but to show people that gun owners aren't all fat old white guys in flannel shirts or boog boys in Hawaiian shirts that apparently are racist. I didn't know. I don't have a Hawaiian shirt. I've got a couple that are Hawaiian-ish, I guess. But I didn't wear them in Hawaii. I wore them in Jamaica. So I don't know if that makes me okay or not.
It makes you African American. What?
Is that what it does?
Let's not go there.
Something.
let's not go there. But I really want to.
Jamaican.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
For I just got to say this, and it has nothing to do with tonight, but I just got to say this. I don't know how many people don't know this, but I know there's a lot of people that don't realize that there are a ton of white people that are African American because they're from North Africa or South Africa. And they're still African Americans, and they do not have hardly any melanin in their skin. Okay. So you don't have to be black to be African American in this country. You just have to be American from Africa. I'm just going to throw that out there. Anyway.
All right. I want to say this, though, and I really, really want to say this.
Yeah.
The race of the person who's running for whatever political office is not important, but they keep bringing it up. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not important. Why do you keep bringing? Oh, it's more that divisiveness you want to come up with. That's what that is.
Their interests are best served convincing you that I hate you, and convincing me that you want to usurp what I have. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is they want to convince me as a white guy in Nebraska that all these other ethnic groups want to come push me out, and they want to convince all the other ethnic groups that I hate them. And I don't hate any. I've been married twice. I don't hate anybody, and I've got 2 ex-wives. I'm just saying, if there was hatred in my heart, it would start there before I cared about what somebody looks like. And I don't even hate them. God didn't put it in me to hate. There's people I don't love. That's all. Anyway.
Let me throw this out there real quick to your audience. That if you guys are white guys, don't bring up the Kamala Harris race thing because you'll be painted into a corner. And again, it means nothing. Leave it up to people that look like me to point out the ridiculousness of what they're doing. Don't pick it up yourself. Just talk about her policies and the other shady stuff she's done. Don't touch the race thing with her.
I keep seeing across Facebook the things about how she's, listed as Caucasian or listed as Indian or whatever, which I don't even know if any of those birth certificates are real. And I don't care. The George Floyd thing, the All Lives Matter posts across Facebook. I don't remember seeing one All Lives Matter post come through from somebody that wasn't white. Okay. Yeah, I get it. We all agree that there's not a life on this planet that isn't important. Okay. I understand where certain people are coming from that said, hey, right now there's some crap going on that we want to call attention to. And some of them are going about it right. Some of them are not. And that's not what we're here to talk about right now. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, some of you guys are not helping. You think you are, but some of you are not. Just think about, if you're going to post it up on social media, if you want to make people mad, then post it. Go for it. Do what you want to do. If you want to stir it up, I'm guilty of that too. If you think that you're helping, then try to take a step back, look at it from a different angle. And if you were somebody else seeing this post, is it gonna say what you want it to say, or could it possibly be misconstrued? Because if it could be, it will be.
All right, I want to throw this out there, and then I'm getting out of here because I have a wake up in 4 hours.
Oh my gosh!
All right, so this week's show, it was going to be called "Let's Race War." But I think I named it like "Divided We Fall" or something like that. Mm-hmm. Saying white lives matter or all lives matter, especially all lives matter, is the same thing as saying black lives matter. They've made it divisive. They brought that into it only because if you don't parrot it, they can paint you as a racist. But when you're saying all lives matter, you're saying exactly the same thing. It was done to point out the blacks that were killed by the police or whatever in that particular situation, or those things that were happening. Don't let people act as if it means Black Lives Matter more. It just means Black Lives Matter just as much. But they were genius in naming it. They were even better than I was with the second is for everyone. Right. And they've just made it so it looks like you're some horrible person because you don't co-sign on to their politics and their bullcrap.
Yep.
Nope. Don't say it. Don't say all lives matter. You know what? Because you mean it. When you say all lives matter, you mean Black Lives Matter. You really do. So co-sign on to it. You ain't drinking the Kool-Aid. You're just not fighting that fight they want you to fight. Just because they put it down don't mean you have to pick it up.
I recently found out in my town there's been 3 that I know of, 3 organized protests. None of them have turned violent. I've got the town I live in, we're about 25,000 people. And I tell you what, if anybody wants an example of how to stage a protest, do it like Norfolk, Nebraska. It looks like Norfolk, but that's in Virginia. We say Norfolk. There's a story. It doesn't matter tonight. But do it like the people in our town did it, because nobody got rowdy. Nobody got off the sidewalk. Nobody blocked traffic. Nobody threw hands. It was a beautiful exercise of the First Amendment. Even if I don't agree with everything people were saying or all the signs, I agree with their right to do it, and they did it the right way, and it was beautiful. Now, one of the protests that was staged was for white people, it was white people in support of Black Lives Matter, which is cool. Great. I don't care. Go support who you want to support. That's not my decision to make for you. But I recently found out on that day when I drove by that I read a sign and it said white silence equals violence. So apparently, if I don't say Black Lives Matter, Tony, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry for my violence toward you and anybody else who doesn't look like me, because I did not say Black Lives Matter, and I didn't put a black square up on my Facebook page. I'm sorry for the violence, and if I hurt you in any way, please forgive me.
The only way I'll forgive you again is all reparation payments can be sent to the Second is for Everyone GoFundMe or the Second is for Everyone on Patreon.
I promise, if I ever make a reparation payment, that will be the first place I make one.
Oh my God. It's the most ridiculous thing. Hey man, I'm getting out of here, but you're right. Don't let people divide us. America's an awesome country. We've lived through way worse than this bullcrap pandemic we're going through. Yeah. We lived, I had a 25-year-old telling me this is the worst time in America for race relations. I'm like, oh, and he was a white kid, by the way, 25-year-old white kid told me this. And I looked at him, I'm like, what
I got to ask.
America are you talking about?
Before you go, do you get a lot of white people telling you how you should feel?
I've been having white people tell me how I should feel for about 40 years now. It's really amazing that they're going to tell me how I should feel. I actually had one lady who's a 70-something-year-old woman who was affluent tell me she understood Black rage. This was in the 90s. I understand Black rage. Well, I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I actually had to go home and look it up on the computer because I didn't find out. I'm like, what the hell is Black rage? Well, thank goodness the rich Jewish lady knew what the hell that was. I was like, whatever, crazy woman.
Wow, that's cool. All right.
Yeah. Condescension. Yeah, it's a new thing.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, all right, Tony, thank you so much for all the time that you've given us tonight. Don't be a stranger. What I like to do, now that I've got your email address, look out, dude. I'm going to spam you every week. You're not obligated or expected to show up, but if you get a link and you're not doing anything after you record and you want to jump in, you find out that I'm talking about something you want to sound off on, you are welcome at my fire anytime, pal. So, I'll put you on my distribution list, and of course I don't expect you to be here all the time because I know you got other stuff going on. I do want to say before you go, because I know Tony's going to back this up, anybody who's out there who wants to get involved, doesn't really know what to do, but is looking for places like things to do, like the diversity shoots, things like that, just keep looking. Look at your grassroots, your local and state gun organizations, places that you can get involved there. Keep in mind that that you're not important. I'm not important. Tony is not important, but what we stand for and what we do, that is important. And you might not feel like you bring much to the table, but all you need to bring is yourself everybody's good at something, and everybody can find something that you can help them with. And so all we want is your willingness to just come and help. And keep this in mind, guys, the sum of the parts is less than the whole. And what I mean by that is if you add Tony and me and Nighthawk and Defense Dad and Ghost and Yehuda and all the people that are, doing what we do all the time, if you add us all together, what we stand for is bigger than what the total of each part comes up to. And so it really is important. We want to get all the people we can. We don't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like, what you sound like, what you can do or what you can't do. You are wanted, you are needed, and we will include you, I promise. And if you run into anybody who doesn't feel that way, they're an a-hole. Go find somebody else, because that's not who we are. So, Tony, thanks again. We will let you jump out of here and go get some rack time before you got to wake up again. Thanks for everything, and I will wrap it up here. We'll be about done anyway. So, thanks, Tony.
Right. Thanks a lot, Raz. Bye.
Yep, later. Okay, so out there on the YouTube side and the Facebook side, because my beautiful producer has made the list, and you can see there's two sides now. There's YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to name off some names, and thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. So over on YouTube, we had Jay Brown, Iron Horseman, Republican River Rat, Nighthawk Medic, Tim Foley, The Poor Conservative, Jefferson Martial Arts, welcome. James Nelson, again, welcome. Those are two people that came over because Ghost sent them, so thanks for that, Ghost. G23, Gizzard Gary, Grim 90, Patriot in the Dark, Defense Dad, James Allen, Jackers 56, Simon Says Train, which is Tony, Two Live Moo, Mystic Guns, Emily L, Hooter Reamer, Blitz, Carolina EDC Reviews, Mike, Two Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw, Vandalistica Vlogs. Vandal, I didn't even see you out there. If I did, it didn't register. Welcome from Brisbane. I remembered now. Brisbane. Ghost Tactical, Philo, Schofield 63, M. Gabriel, Blackbird Channel, Calaveras 32 Special, Guy That Comments, and Armament and Axes, along with Sandhill's Sweetheart out there. Now on Facebook, we had a bunch of you on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Hey, BJ, I see you out there. I'm going to wave at you. Dean Hayden. I'm just going to go first name. I'm sorry. We'll just go first name since this is people's Facebook pages here, or Facebook profiles. Dean, Timothy, Josh, Dave, Steve, Dob, Scott, Fred, Tobias, Shannon, Vanessa, Justin, another Tim, Tristina, what's up, T? Mel, Dale, Jose, Rick, Shane, Dewey, John, Dusty, Tony, Bobby, Jay, Brad, Seth, Daryl. It keeps going. It's the first time we've ever had to put stuff on the back of the page. Heather, Will, Dan, William, John, Leonard, Jennifer, Diane, Alan, Robert, Jim, Lee, Terry, Shane, and Todd. This is amazing. I've never had this many people on Facebook before. I like it. We may end up keeping the StreamYard stuff going just because I can reach all of you folks as well. All right. If I didn't read your name, it's because you weren't active in the chat or we didn't see you. So make sure that you call attention to yourself so we can get you on the list next time. Thank you to all of us, from all of us. Thank all of you who tuned in and made this happen, made it worth our time tonight and caught it live. And all of you that are going to catch this on the replay too. So maybe you'll catch this later in the week, the next day, later on. Maybe it could be 6 months or a year down the road when you're finally listening to this. I'm glad you found us. Okay. Without you listening and watching, we don't have a podcast. We don't have a reason to do it. And you really are the reason that we do this, because we want to talk to you. We want to talk with you. I could do this on radio or TV and never hear back from you and never care what you think about it. But the fact that we do this online, it's live and it's interactive. You can tell us exactly what you think, whether you agree or disagree. And both are welcome. I love it when people come in and disagree with me and makes me rethink what I think. That is healthy. So thanks for all of that. We are going to get into it again. I'm going to keep dropping this until I get a few people to come in and discuss it with me. But I do want to have a conversation here soon about how the Second Amendment is the only amendment that has quote unquote reasonable restrictions placed against it. And I know people are pushing to get restrictions put in place against some of the First Amendment rights as well. But right now, the Second Amendment is the only right that has restrictions put in place against it, and anybody that wants to argue with me is welcome to come in and express a different viewpoint than mine, but I will talk about what I mean when we have that conversation. I just got to get a few people that are willing to talk about it in here, so that we can have a conversation and it's not just me talking and spouting off what I think. So email me at sandhillsshooter@gmail.com. Catch me on Facebook. You can even drop a comment down below, and I may or may not catch that one here on the YouTube side as well, or on the Facebook video here. On behalf of Sandhill Sweetheart and myself, on behalf of Defense Dad and Nighthawk Medic Shoots, definitely on behalf of Tony Simon from The Second Is For Everyone, or Simon Says Train, or diversityshoot.com. You can go check him out at all those names and places. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been awesome. This is one of the most fun podcasts I've ever done, just because we had a fun guest who knows a lot of things about a lot of things and isn't afraid to say what's on his mind. That's the kind of guest I want. I want somebody that's not afraid to say what's on their mind. And even if what you think is different than what I think or what I say, that's okay with me. I don't mind. Come on in, let's talk. So get in touch with us if that's you and you want to join the podcast, and we'll make that happen. In the meantime, catch us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. For now, you know what to do. It's time to get off my lawn.